Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be very different for me. I've never done content like this on my channel. Well, I've done a get ready with me, but I haven't done it this style. So today I'm going to be getting ready with you guys, as well as telling you about a serial killer. This is going to be part of my new series. And these videos will be going up twice a month, sometimes 3, depending on like how the weeks work. I hope y'all enjoy, and let's just get on with the video. Today I'm going to be talking about Robert Pickton. He is a Canadian serial killer that was based in British Columbia. He was based around the east side. His victims were from the east side Vancouver area, and he lived in Port Coquitlam in BC. Robert Pickton, he's also known as Robert Willy Pickton, or the pig farmer killer. He's known to be one of Canada's most notorious serial killers. And surprisingly, I didn't really know much about him. And well, I didn't really know he existed until my sister mentioned him to me, because I was trying to find who to make my first video about. So he's who I picked, because I just thought the whole story was just really weird and surprising that I didn't really know he existed, considering I wasn't like super young when he was convicted. So Robert William Pickton was born in Port Coquitlam in British Columbia, Canada, on October 26th in 1949. He is currently 69 years old. He has one brother and then one sister. And growing up, his parents used to own a pig farm in Port Coquitlam. But when they died in the 1970s, they left the pig farm to their children. After the Pickton siblings inherited the land, they decided to sell parts of it so that some houses could be built, as well as some shopping centers. This is also another way for them to get money. And after selling some parts of their land, they actually decided to turn the farm into a non-profit kind of like rave house. Well, they didn't claim it was a rave house, but it was a non-profit organization that hosted parties and stuff. Pickton has been described as a pretty quiet guy that is hard to strike up conversations with, so he's kind of awkward. And this was said by one of his former workers called Bill Hiscox. Among the Pickton siblings, only Rob and his brother managed the farm, and they began actually neglecting the operations of the farm, and like I said earlier, they turned it into a non-profit. They registered it as a non-profit organization called the Piggy Palace Good Time Society with the Canadian government in 1996, the year I was born. So they claimed that they would organize, coordinate, manage, and operate special events, functions, dances, show, exhibitions on behalf of service organizations, sports organizations, and other worthy groups. But this was actually later proven to be false, but I'll get into that later. Instead, they actually hosted raves and wild parties that featured sex workers in a converted slaughterhouse that was located on the farm. So on March 23rd in 1997, Pickton was charged with the attempted murder of a sex worker called Wendy Lynn Eiseder. Eiseder actually stated that Pickton picked her up from the east side downtown Vancouver area and drove her to his farm. He had sex with her, slapped the handcuff on her left arm without her knowing, and then he proceeded to stab her in the abdomen. And she was able to get hold of the knife, so she actually decided to stab him instead in self-defense. Eventually, she was able to escape. Actually, they were both They both went to the hospital. And while they were in the hospital, getting treated for the injuries that they had suffered, one of the workers that was working on Isidore actually had to go to Pickton to get the keys to unlock her from the handcuff. She did press charges on Pickton, but they were later dropped. He was released on a $2,000 bond, and the charges were later dismissed on January 1998. And it was due to the fact that Miss Isidore, the sex worker, is not seen as a credible witness because she has issues with drug addiction, and they thought she was unable to provide a valid testimony, which could actually secure a conviction. And this is what the prosecutors thought. So when they did book Robert Pickton, the clothes and the boots that he was wearing the night of the stabbing were taken into storage and weren't tested until 2009, which later revealed the DNA of 2 missing women from 1997. After telling you a little bit of his backstory, I'm going to talk about his murder spree. So on February 6, 2002, the Vancouver police obtained a search warrant for illegal firearms on the Pickton pig farm. And on that date, Pickton was actually taken into custody. Later, the police obtained another warrant, which was issued so that they could search the farm in relation to the BC missing woman investigation. And with that search warrant, they actually discovered some items that belonged to some of the missing women on his. So the police actually found items that belonged to the 2 missing women from. After obtaining the search warrant, police officers actually found items that belonged to some missing women on Pickton's farm. And 16 days later, he was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder for Serena Adwoa and Mona Wilson. And then on April 2nd, 2 more charges were added to his list of charges, basically. So 16 days later, Robert Pickton was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder of Serena Adwoa and Mona Wilson. And then on April 2nd, 3 more charges were actually added to his list of charges for the murder of Jacqueline McDonald, Diane Rock, and then Heather Bottomy. I believe that's how you say it. On April 9th, a 6th charge was added to his list of charges for the murder of Andrea Josbury. On May 26, 2005, Robert Pickton was charged with a total of 27 first-degree murder charges. After the police officers searched the Pickton farm, they found it very difficult to perform forensic analysis on the victims' bodies because they were just left to decompose, and in some cases he actually just fed their remains to the pigs, which is really disgusting and so messed up. Sometimes, because he'll just leave the bodies out in the open, insects would also eat parts of the bodies because it was decomposing. On March 10th, 2004, the Canadian government put out a statement saying that Pickton may have ground up human flesh and mixed it with pork that he sold to the public. And the province's the BC Health Authority, later issued a warning for pork that people bought from his farm. And I guess he was just trying to hide the fact that he was killing these women, but that's just such a disgusting way to hide bodies. So Robert Pickton's murder spree actually lasted over 20 years. He wasn't apprehended until 2002, so that's a very long time. So he would actually go to Vancouver's downtown east side area and pick up women that just happened to be either drug addicts or sex workers. And he would take these women to his farm with the Well, they thought that he just wanted to use them for their services, but it turns out that he had other plans in mind. And some of the victims' family members actually believe that the Vancouver police didn't really take their disappearances seriously due to the nature of the work that they did, but that is completely unfair. Everyone deserves to be treated the same way, no matter what you choose to do for work. And the police denied the fact that they weren't taking these disappearances seriously due to the fact that these women weren't really in constant communication with their family members. So it was very hard to determine whether they were missing or if they were just on one of their, like, I don't really know, or they're just not talking to their family. In addition to the fact that there were no, it was difficult to prove the fact that people were missing because they weren't in constant communication with their family, was the fact that the police didn't find any bodies. So it was very hard to prove that people were either getting killed or they were disappearing, which I kind of don't really blame them, because how can you determine if someone is dead or is missing if, one, they don't really talk to their family or they don't really have a lot of close people around them that they keep constant communication with, and two, no bodies were found. But after searching the Pickton farm, the Vancouver police decided to change their mindset on what was actually going down in terms of these missing women. After discovering remains or human remains on the Pickton farm, they used large conveyor belts to sift through tons of soil while laboratories conducted thousands of DNA tests to identify the women or just the people whose remains were found on the farm. After Pickton was arrested and charged with the 27 counts of murder, it's time for his trial, and the judge that was presiding over his court case actually put out a publication ban so that no media outlets could let anyone know what was actually being said in the hearings. So after hearing the large amount of evidence that was found against Pickton, this judge decided to split the trial into two parts because it would actually supposedly take years to hear all of the evidence like at one trial. So the two parts that he split his trial into, so if the first part was just for the 6 counts of murder, one count of murder was actually dismissed due to the fact that they didn't have enough evidence to convict him or to charge him. And then the second part was for the remaining 26 women. And the 6 that were chosen were seen as materially different than the other 20, so I guess they have more evidence to prove that he is the one that indeed killed these women. His trial was actually initially set for January 8th, 2008, but it was moved to the 22nd of January. So the 6 women that Pickton was on trial for were Frey, Adwoa, Papin, Joesbury, Wolf, and Wilson. And some of the details that were revealed after the publication ban was lifted are just so disturbing. One of them that I personally thought that was just like really, really just gross and so messed up was the fact that there were skulls that were cut in half, and then their feet and the hands of the victims were stuffed in the skull. Like, that is so messed up. Why? Ugh. I don't know. I really don't understand why he would do such a thing. So now I'm just going to read something directly from where I got my information from, just so I don't mess anything up. So as of February 20th, February 20th, 2007, the following information has been presented to the court. During Pickton's trial, lab staff testified that about 80 identified DNA profiles, roughly half male and half female, have been detected on evidence. Items police found inside Pickton's trailer were a loaded .22 revolver. I don't really know anything about guns. A loaded .22 revolver with a dildo over the barrel, and 1 round was fired. Boxes of .357 Magnum handgun ammunition. Night vision goggles were also found. And then 2 pairs of faux fur lined handcuffs, a syringe with 3 milliliters of blue liquid inside, and Spanish fly aphrodisiac. A videotape was also found where Pickton's friend, Scott Chubb, had told him a good way to kill a female heroin addict was to inject her with windshield washer fluid. And then a second tape was played for Pickton, which an associate named Andrew Bellwood said Pickton mentioned killing sex workers by handcuffing them and strangling them, then bleeding and gutting them before feeding them to pigs. Photos of the contents of a garbage can found in Pickton's slaughterhouse, which held some remains of Mona Wilson, one of the women he was on trial for at the time. Okay, so the trial is over, and on December 9th, 2007, the jury found Robert Pickton not guilty on 6 charges of first-degree murder, but he was found guilty on 6 charges of second-degree murder. His sentencing was actually life in prison with no possibility of parole for 25 years, and this ruling is actually just standard for any second-degree murder charge or murder conviction, and that's the maximum charge that anyone can get, which is really sad and kind of messed up. But I don't think he will actually be able to be granted parole. And then, so the other 20 counts of murder were actually stayed by the courts in 2007 on August 4th. So the other 20 victims are not going to get justice. The families are not going to get justice for their lost loved ones. And that's just so messed up. So the Vancouver police actually ended up apologizing to the public as well as the victims of Robert Pickton after his trial. Deputy Chief Constable Doug Lepard publicly apologized to the victims' families at a press conference, saying, "I wish from the bottom of my heart that we would have caught him sooner. I wish that the several agencies involved, that we could have done better in so many ways. I wish that all the mistakes that were made we could undo. And I wish that more lives would have been saved. So on my behalf and on behalf of the Vancouver Police Department and all the men and women that worked on this investigation, I would say to the families how sorry we all are for your losses and because we do not catch this monster sooner." So in June 2018, which is very recent, he has allegedly been transferred from the Kent Institution in British Columbia, BC, Canada, to the Port Cartier Penitentiary or Institution in Quebec. So the other 20 charges that Pickton was charged with, they were stayed, like I mentioned earlier, and they were stayed by Crown Counsel Melissa Giuseppe during a BC Supreme Court hearing at New Westminster. And then at this point, most of the publication ban had been lifted, so the public could get some insight as to what was said in the trial and what happened to these women. They just weren't treated the best. Because of their vulnerability, Robert Pickton decided to kill them because he figured, I guess, no one would miss them. And I'm sorry for my lighting for going in and out. I'm not really sure what's going on with that. In August 2006, a man named Thomas Ludemy, who is a California resident, claimed that he received some letters from Robert Pickton. Seems kind of sus, but okay. So in the letters, he's saying that Pickton speaks with some concern about the expense of the investigation. He assures Ludemy that he's innocent, and he actually quotes and refers to the Bible in these letters. He actually praises the trial judge and responds in detail to fictional information in Ludemy's letters. And actually, after the Vancouver Sun exclusively published these letters on Saturday, September 2nd, 2006, law enforcement or any representative of Pickton are able to verify if these letters are legit or not. I do not think they're legitimate, to be honest. I feel like this guy probably wanted money or like fame or something. Like, this was around the time that his trial was going on too. So what are his intentions? And Ludemy, the guy who brought the information of these letters to light, claims that he actually did not keep a copy of these letters. Suspicious? I wonder. And it's actually been found that Ludemy does have a history of writing to accused and convicted individuals, or criminals, I guess. In 2016, a film called On the Farm was released, displaying like the life of Pickton and like what happened with his victims and all of that, which was actually a very interesting watch. Actually, you can watch it on YouTube. Just search Robert Pickton and it should just pop up. But I will also have it linked down below. I'm going to finish my makeup and then I'll come back with my like final thoughts on Robert Pickton and then let you know more about this potential series that I'm starting. So I'll talk to you guys really soon. Okay, so I am back. I finished my makeup look. First thing I want to say is that I don't think I'm going to do eyeshadow in the next one, because trying to do eyeshadow while like consulting your notes is very difficult. So I'm just going to do a little bit of a review of Robert Pickton, who he is, what his convictions are, and all that. So Robert Pickton, Canadian serial killer that was convicted and charged of killing 6 women. He was actually on trial for 26, but the remaining 20 were stayed. He was initially charged with the attempted murder of the sex worker Isider, but they didn't charge him because the charges were dropped, and he was also released on bail. Due to the fact that they took the clothing that he did wear the day that she did press charges on him, it did lead to him being charged with the murder of 2 women. I don't know why I'm struggling to say this. And his killing spree went unnoticed until people realized that there were women that were just going missing after they visited his farm. He was actually convicted and arrested and charged after police found incriminating evidence on his farm. And also the Piggy Palace Good Time Society actually had to be closed down because the government deemed it as they weren't actually like doing what they said they were going to do, basically, which is true, because they weren't actually a non-profit organization hosting events for like sports societies. They were just hosting raves and crazy parties. He was arrested in 2002 and his preliminary hearing was in 2003, and then he was later sentenced to life in 2007. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give me a big thumbs up. Leave any suggestions down below. I hope my next one is better, because I learned from this one, and doing eyeshadow is very hard while trying to do a serial killer profiling. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye, guys.